I left my fiance because of her abusive family. She finally saw the truth and came crawling back to me, but by that point it was too late. My fiance's childhood was terrible. Her parents were narcissistic and she was scapegoated for her two brothers. She was thrown out at 18. But fortunately due to her academics she built herself up and established a great career. That's the problem however, because as soon as she began earning money, her family manipulated their way back into her life. They are rude, smug and arrogant, and they come over to our house unannounced a lot. My fiancé can't say no to them. So each time she lets them in and each time they trash the place. Her mother acts like she owns this place, her father eats my food and leaves the dishes unwashed, her brothers make a mess too, and my fiancé quietly stands in the corner shaking while her parents ask her for another loan. I've talked to her so much about this, and each time she says there's still that little girl inside her that desperately wants their approval. I've watched her cry herself to sleep more times than I can count. Tomorrow I'm telling her I want to delay the wedding until she establishes boundaries. Update 1. My fiancé came back from work the next day early and I already was off that day so I initiated the talk a little sooner than I planned essentially. I told her how this arrangement was not sustainable. I did not feel comfortable marrying her due to how much involvement in her life her family has, and I certainly did not feel comfortable bringing a child into this world with them. I didn't want to tell her cold turkey no contact with them, but strict limitations to start with on them coming over, and what they can do around the house. I also requested couples therapy before marriage. She wasn't happy. She was just staring angrily at me while I spoke then started yelling at me when I finished. She told me I don't understand their dynamic and that it worked for her. I told her that. They're abusive users who will bleed her dry and I have never seen them show any decency to her. She told me she just had to work harder for them to appreciate her. I basically yelled at her that a parent's child shouldn't have to beg and plead and work for them to be loved. I finally told her that she sets limits with them or I walk. She was livid and since I was living in her house I was kicked out. So the past few days I have been staying in a hotel and have had my stuff taken out and put into storage. And frankly, it's been great. I am going to stay with family for a few weeks around mid-July and after that I am going to go house searching for myself. I have spent the last couple days relaxing, catching up on movies and video games I haven't had time for, and could go back from work to a quiet room without her family tearing the place apart. Yesterday however things came to a head. We have basically been no contact since she booted me out, but I know every Saturday her family loves to spend the afternoon over and she uses me as a shield from their abuse. However in a very petty move I simply kept my phone muted all day and played Disco Elysian. I knew she would call back for help with her family and at this point pure resentment was kicking in for her and I wanted nothing to do with her issues. By the end of the night she had sent me over a dozen texts and finally 2 frantic voicemails begging me to come home. I decided to come over to check up on her. Long story short she was sobbing in the living room and when I came to talk to her she was practically crushing my back hugging me and sobbing. I gave her time to cool off and asked what happened. Long story short, her parents and brother came by to ask money from her and say horrible stuff to her. She wanted to have me come over to help but I was ignoring her, and when she tried to have one of her friends help out and everyone basically said F that, it all started clicking in for her. She kicked her family out but not before they said some utterly vile stuff to her I won't repeat. She kept apologizing to me and told me over and over to come home. I told her plainly that I had started to build up heavy resentment towards her for some time and while I loved her and understood it was trauma and not her being outright abusive, there were major issues that would need to be addressed if we were to move forward. She sells the house and moves. We make roughly the same amount of money and we will buy a house together. I am a grown man and I will not live in a house I have no equal agency over. Her family will never step a foot in it. They will never come over. They will be treated by me in a very threatening manner if they try and come in. She gets a new therapist and we start premarital counseling. She never makes me interact with her family. We will go LC with her family right now but make no mistake we are working towards full NC on her end. I told her I love her. We have been together for a while now and have beautiful memories together and I know she is suffering from abuse, but these are non-negotiable and if she has a problem with any of them then we have to go out separate ways. She told me she's realized for a while now that her family is toxic and unhealthy. She wants to make changes. She has accepted but some of these will take a while to see through. For now I'm going to stay in the hotel until I head back to stay with my family. She is welcome to come over but I have made it clear her house is not somewhere I want to go. Her and I are both off tomorrow so we will spend the day here and maybe go out. This is obviously not over yet but I might not post anything else until mid-August or so. Update 2. Despite all intentions of not updating until much later with the hopes of an improved relationship with my fiancé and her establishing boundaries with her toxic family, we are now broken up. Essentially what happened was after last weekend where I left her for the time to deal with them herself, she seemed to finally grasp the situation and was open to changes including boundaries and a possible move. We spent Monday and Tuesday hanging out in my hotel that I was staying in until I went back to my family for a couple weeks. The other night she was being very vague with texting when she originally was supposed to come over. She came much later than expected and I knew something was up. She basically unloaded on me how I was abusive, controlling, overly demanding, and unsupportive. It took me 5 seconds to figure out she was repeating verbatim some sort of rehearsed speech from her parents. And to be honest, I was so agitated at this point despite making a huge gamble on her I decided to be a prick about it. I asked her if her family told her to say this. She said they suggested it to her but she came up with it herself. I asked her to explain in detail what I did. She said I was living like a parasite off her. I reminded her that I'm paying 50-50 for her mortgage, 50-50 for utilities and groceries as well. I have my own car I pay for, a job that makes just about as much as hers, unlike her leech parents who demand payments on the weekly and raid the kitchen on the weekends. I told her to try again with something better. She looked flustered and said I was trying to isolate her. I kinda smirked and told her that I have always supported her many friendships that she has destroyed on her own because no one wants to deal with her family or be used as a shield like me. I was practically demanding to know at this point why she is so hellbent on destroying her life for these people. She just kinda shouted that I don't understand her family and she's just trying to earn their love back and was basically ranting at that point. It's just so staggering to see up close. She was utterly broken and didn't want help. She didn't want to get better. She just wanted to get worse. It hit me like a truck honestly. The realization. I really did feel like a fool for trying. even if it was what I was supposed to do in the first place. She was practically berserk at this point and I was just mentally exhausted and needed her to leave before someone called the police. She finally left, but I had a few concerned neighbors check on me. Some of her friends are aware as they have messaged me checking on the situation. I told them the truth and that I just needed to be alone to think what to do next right now. They have revealed that she has given them similar rants after they expressed concern for her. One had even heard that she may be possibly at risk of losing her job. She is definitely having some sort of mental break. From my understanding, she is now completely isolated. She is actually sprinting into a horrible lonely life right now. There's nothing I can do for her at this point, and as selfish as it sounds, I'm just glad it's going to be behind me. Update. Things have kinda wrapped up, but there were some loose ends. I completely forgot to change my mailing address, which I should have done ASAP. So a couple important things got sent to her house. I had to go pick them up, plus a final couple of items I wanted for my move that I left there and decided I wanted to actually take. She was being difficult and not responding to messages in regards to them. So I had to go get them from her myself. I brought a mutual friend just in case. Thankfully she was at least cooperative in letting me get my stuff and it wasn't much of an issue. Everything else was though. She had a lot of nasty things to say. Telling me she was already sleeping around. Telling me how happy she was now that I was gone. Telling me she's finally free of me. How she's going to be so much better off without me. A lot of generic insults and horrible things you would commonly expect from a nasty breakup. And you know what? It was so obvious it was a rehearsed script from her family and you could easily see how miserable she was. She looked like a mess, like she hasn't slept in days. The house was a mess. She wasn't even yelling. She sounded so exhausted and broken when she said it. She didn't even smile when she said anything. Just a face contorted in hate and anger. She was not the woman I knew anymore. That person was gone when I was getting ready to leave. She was still going on. I was fed up and told her something along the lines of congratulations. Your friends are gone. Your human shields are gone. Your engagement is over. Your support is gone. Anyone who ever treated you like a decent human being is gone. It's just you and your family. I hope you're happy while they bleed you dry. She just stood there, literally just stood there and looked at me with indifference and walked away as I walked out the door. As we were leaving, the mutual friend Tiffany asked if I was okay. I reassured her I was and I'm just trying to get myself set up to go home next week. She also confirmed that she hears my ex did lose her job for not showing up for several days and basically ghosting them. They're going to try an intervention next week and asked if I could participate, but I'm not delaying my travel because frankly I just want a clean break. I know for a fact that if I stay involved and only going to be witnessing the slow descent to a full break. Update 4. A couple mutuals with my ex-fiance have let me know what's been happening and things finally seem to be getting better. The plan was for an intervention Sunday, but Saturday night after her family visited again she called friends in an absolute manic state and it finally seems to have clicked how bad she screwed up. It was a full-blown panic attack and meltdown which ended with her in the ER. Needless to say she finally admits how miserable she is and that she's messed up her life badly. Apparently she tried calling me but I had her blocked. She still has her job and that info about her losing it was wrong. But she's hanging by a thread there and her boss has basically ordered her to use her PTO for a few weeks to get her head on straight. She's a valuable asset there and they are trying to make sure she can fix herself before they pull the plug on her. Her friend group is extremely close. My ex was someone who was a very helpful and supportive friend, so it makes sense her group is going this far in trying to help her. It is however, an unspoken agreement that if she goes back to how she was again that they are all prepared to let her sink on her own. She's doing as well as can be expected. Her family has continued to head her with calls and messages. They've tried showing up to her house but have been firmly redirected by friends and even neighbors. I hope she truly understands the kind of support system she has. As trashy family disputes usually go, her parents and brothers have taken it to Facebook, which from what I heard has been in my ex's favor as it has exposed their behavior to many more people and seems to have shut them up for a little. Finally, she had one of the mutuals pass a message to me. Essentially it was her admitting all the horrible things she said to me were not true and were done by her family, as I knew they were. She apologized for how things ended and hoped we could one day reconnect. Sadly I had to relay that we need to stay separated for good and she just needs to focus on her healing. But I told her I still care for her and I wish her the best, but this needs to be our goodbye. The message seems to have been passed along and her friends are helping her process that. She's got a long way to go but I hope she can find her peace as I am finding mine. Update 5. Unfortunately, despite all intentions by my ex's friends, the situation is now truly over in the worst way, and the friend group has been shattered as a result. My ex has taken her own life. Pretty much everything I'm going to relay I learned last night. Since I left her, friends have been helping her get back on her feet, pushing her to better therapy, helping establish boundaries with her family, getting her out of the house. They truly went above and beyond. However, Tiffany, the friend who was there helping me the last time I talked face to face to my ex, began to grow suspicious of my ex when she saw her becoming touchy-feely with her boyfriend Daniel when they hung out at her house. I don't know too many details about when push became shove, but she eventually got a hold of her boyfriend's phone when he was asleep and found very intimate messages between them. Messages going back 8 months, to when we were still together. Tiffany obviously lost it and told everyone. What no one could have expected was the crap show that was to follow. Daniel, Tiffany's now ex, in a massive effort move, threw another member of the friend group Joseph under the bus, claiming he helped cover for him. Joseph's girlfriend in return dumped him and kicked him out of her house. A friend group consisting of around 9 people including my ex, practically exploded, and the only people who still talk to each other are Tiffany and Joseph's ex. Mind you, as I was being told this, I was informed that although I have been away for around a month, all of this happened literally in the first week. Immediately my ex lost her entire support system and was essentially fully blamed for everything. This only exasperated her already declining mental state. Of course everyone wanted to know why she did all that to one of her best friends. She just gave the usual spiel about how they had grown close. He was a good support system for her, and of course, she has told her family about him and they approved of him instead of me. The night I left her house to my hotel, she then invited him over. Apparently her endgame was to leave me for him eventually. However, he wouldn't leave Tiffany for her and he utterly loathed hearing about her family, so he obviously wouldn't go for anything more than a secret affair. Truly I imagined I would be far angrier than I was. So yeah, My ex was completely ostracized, even by Tiffany's ex who just outright disappeared. She was blocked and left to deal with her problems herself. Tiffany only knew that she finally lost her job for good and basically spent all her free time having her family over. They had finally won in a way. 2 nights ago, it was discovered that she had taken her life in her home. Her family found her. One of the members of the old friend group who lived nearby showed up at her house when medical was showing up. Her family was there and seemed like they couldn't care less. Tiffany called me last night just to give a heads up. There were several notes and she as delicately as possible asked me if I would want mine just for closure. I really don't know what to do about that. I am feeling so much mental whiplash right now. I truly never knew this woman at all. I've had to accept over the past month I've been home that she was abusive in the relationship with how she put me through stuff with her family. And now it seems like it was a way to try and drive me off so she could be in the arms of another man that her family seemed to like. Which frankly makes me even more confused because what did he have that I didn't? Did they just enjoy screwing with her life? Was anything with her real? Was anything with the group of people I spent years of my life with even real? Being back here is the best decision I've ever made and now I have full confirmation of that. I can start some therapy to process this mess, spend time with an actually trustworthy group of people face to face instead of online, and I have family close by for support.